Right. You're like, why would I cut this back and take on the stress of that? And why do you feel like you're the type of person that wanted to take on the stress level of, you were with Alphalete, right? One of the largest fitness apparel brands in the game. You see people making this crazy money and commissions. You see what they've built, and you decided to leave that company to focus 100% on your own brand. And why is that?
I think it comes down to, when we look to create a YouTube video, we don't just look, how am I gonna like quickly create a video that can get views, right? Like I look at each video as its own separate being and entity, and thank you for, I think we have a big mutual respect because of that, right? Yeah. And I think it's a similar thing with clothing, or let's talk with Alphalete. And I loved working with Alphalete. That's a brand that I always admired, and when I finally started working with them, it was amazing. But it doesn't fulfill that same need of like, I'm creating something that's my own, from like envisioning it to seeing it now be a physical thing in front of me, to now seeing other people see the value in it enough to like actually put up their own money to get it, and then they're wearing it and they're happy with it. And there's something like really special about that process, I think, even if in the short term you end up, like, I'm getting ready to launch the supplement brand hopefully this month, maybe next month.
You're starting a supplement brand, but you were with Transparent Labs, huge company.
Yes.
And now you're leaving being an athlete to start your own company.
Yes, and that's I mean, I haven't been promoting them for the last year. So essentially for the last year, I gave up I mean, as far as like working for another brand goes, I was making very good monthly revenue from them. Not even revenue, right? It's a straight profit if you're an influencer. But I don't know, man. There's some itch that needs to be scratched.
Do you feel like you're playing the long-term game rather than the short-term financial success?
Yeah, I feel like there's a few factors. One factor is that there's things I saw that I want to do differently with my own supplement brand, and that you can't do that unless it's your own brand.
Right.
There's the other factor that it's very satisfying, at least for me, to bring something, to create something of my own. And there's of course the other factor that when you create something of your own, it's in the short term. I always say this: you got to take a short term L to get like a long term W.
Right.
You have to give up money. Not just have to give up making money. You have to literally lose money. Like, just like you're spending money that you're just hoping 6 months, 1 year down the line comes back to increase your profits over time. So I think it's a combination of different factors.
And what's interesting is when you left Alphalete, so you had started your clothing company, which is called Edge.
Yep.
Right. Amazing stuff. Makes things in the similar space, fitness apparel, joggers, t-shirts, lifestyle kind of stuff. Now you had Edge and you created Edge while you're working with Alphalete.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, and this is similar to myself, who I had
Ape Athletics.
I have Everford Apparel, but I was still with Ape Athletics.
Yep.
And what I think is something that kind of went off in your brain is you could promote both. And I'm sure maybe in the back of your head, or in a lot of people would maybe ask the question of like, why are you with a clothing company if you have your own clothing company? And in my opinion, I think what you probably thought was, well, I'm making good money with this other clothing company, I can promote both.
Yep.
And I think at a certain point, you have to decide, I want to go all in on myself.
Yep.
Rather than just promoting another clothing company. Not that there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
But you were like, I guess it doesn't make sense, right?
What's like a girl who's in a relationship that or you could say a guy. I don't mean to. Whatever.
Yeah.
There's someone who's in a relationship with someone, but they know like long term, I'm probably not gonna be in a relationship with someone. They start like, and this is not a healthy thing, but you start like planting seeds to see like what you're gonna hop to next. But yes, in the short term, you're afraid to let go of that like steady paycheck you're getting from the other company. I think part of it's like a realistic approach to like, I don't know how to make clothing, bro. Like at first I didn't know what I was doing.
How long were you with Alphalete while you had Edge?
I want to say a year. Granted, over that year, it's not like we were doing launches every other month.
So a year. So you were with Alphalete for a year.
That's like from my best recollection. But again, over that time, there was probably 2 Edge launches the first year. So I think it was once I got to the point where I was like, once it happened once actually, where there was an Alphalete launch and an Edge launch, and I was like, I have to promote Edge. I can't promote Alphalete. Once it got to that point, I'd spoken to Christian before I even started Edge, just to like make sure he was cool with me doing both at the same time. But once it got to that part, we talked again, and it became more like a, hey, you know, bro, if the launches don't coincide at the same time, I'll give Alphalete a shout out. If it does, no big deal. So once it became like a clear conflict of interest, I think is when I decided to move on. But it's tough because there's some clout that comes for working with like a well-known brand, and there's money. Right,
100%. And do you think that any part of you, when you had Edge working with Alphalete, in the back of your mind, you're like, obviously I'm proud of my brand, I want to build my brand, but the reason that I'm not leaving Alphalete is because it's such a big brand. Like, why would I leave it? Like, Edge can never be what this is.
Yep.
And you're like, I really want that income. Like, I know I can do well with my clothing, but I don't, you know, it's not going to be like that. So why would I give up this other income?
Yep.
And there was a point where you shifted and you're like, I'm going to go in on myself.
Yep.
And I think that's what stands you apart from a lot of other influencers.
You can't make that leap, you're saying.
You can't make that leap. A lot of people in the influencer space will always be the people that are building their audience
to build someone else's brand.
And a lot of people will get these fat paychecks. And keep in mind, influencers nowadays are making a whole lot more than when I started. People a year or two in are making light years more. I mean, there's people.
Do you think you would have started your own businesses if you were making the type of money these guys are making?
And that's what's interesting. And that's what I think is the short-term game versus the long-term game, because if you're making, a lot of these younger influencers are actually making, I don't know if people know this,
up to $50K a month or something for one sponsor.
50 to 70K a month
from one sponsor.
A clothing supplement or clothing sponsor, a supplement sponsor. So it's like, they're like, why would I leave that?
I don't know. Would you have been able to? If you were making $50K a month from Ape Athletics, would you have been able to leave?
And you know what? There was points when I was making more with Ape Athletics than I was with Everforward per month.
Yep.
And there was a point when I said, I want to be my own person. Nothing to disrespect the company, nothing to disrespect anyone else, but I want to be my own person.
Yep.
And something that I think you have done amazingly is stood apart from a lot of these other influencers, and you are your own entity. You're in your own realm. You're not in this niche of group of YouTubers where there's a couple of these guys and you're one of those guys. You're in your own space. You're a business owner and you're absolutely crushing it, right? And I think that's what's different than a lot of people who are playing kind of a short-term financial gain, right? Because I'll tell you, you know what's cooler than making $70K a month from a sponsor is making $1 million a month from your own business. Right?
You have to have, because that's a question and I'm sure you get this all the time too. It's like, I want to start my clothing brand, or I want to start my supplement brand, or I want to, whatever it is. I know you probably get that about candy now too, but you really have to have a long-term outlook, because there's going to be years where you're stagnating or you're not, there's so much to figure out, right? There's going to be years before you get to that point.
Right. And why do you believe in yourself so much? Well, why not take the easy route of, I could work with my following is so big, I bet I could be like, hey guys, I tried the clothing thing, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go work with this clothing company. I'm going to start making the same profit every single month. Why do you believe in yourself so much that you've transitioned into owning everything yourself and being, I guess the word, like your own man in the influencer space, that now you're truly a business owner that has a YouTube channel, not a YouTuber that has some businesses?
That's a good question, man. I mean, I think that belief was built little by little.
Yeah.
I think that maybe it started with overcoming the stuff with women. And that's like the initial belief that like, wow, this is something I didn't think was possible. Now this is possible. Wow. I never thought I could have 50K subscribers on YouTube. Now, 100K, whatever, now I have that. Okay. Well, now I'm, representing different brands. What if I started my own brand?
Right.
Oh, wow, we sold out all those clothes that we bought. So I don't think it's, you don't just walk into putting down whatever 200K onto like investment into inventory for a clothing launch, hoping you sell it. I think it was it was a staircase. I don't think that it happened overnight. And I think also I've had mentors and other people that I've seen in this community here in Houston and other places that are always one step ahead of you. And that opens your eyes to like what's possible, right? Like you can see what other people are doing, and if someone else can do it, like why can't you?
What is going on, guys? I am Maxx Chewning, your host. I hope you enjoyed this little clip. If you want to see the full, magical, lovely episode, just click the link down in the description or search Don't Be Sour on your favorite podcast streaming service. And remember, thank you for tuning in.